Hi, John here. Okay, so continuing in this video from where we left off in the previous video regarding the suspicious mid-air crash from January 29 of this year. So I'm going to put the camera back on the screenshots in a moment. I just want to mention, if some other stuff gets in the background of this video, like the advertising signs, or names of signs on restaurants or retail establishments or whatever, or if you hear noise in the background, right? Whether it's video, what's other stuff getting in the video, visual stuff or audio stuff, I got no control over that. Like I said, I'm outside in downtown Montreal as I'm making this video, so I got no control over some of the other stuff, some of the peripheral items that get into the video. But believe me, if anything appears in terms of a sign, restaurant sign, store sign, retail sign, some sign on the bus shelter, whatever kind of sign, I'm not doing advertising for it. I'm not doing advertising. Believe me, I don't get paid from anyone for doing advertising. If some sign gets in the shot, that's not my fault. There's no other way to do it. When you're outdoors, some stuff is going to get in there. But believe me, I don't know about any of these signs that get into the video. I'm not doing advertising for them. Believe me, this is a totally non-profit channel. Some of my videos I have to do outside. I'm not going to go into the complex reasons why that is now. Sometime in the future I may, but believe me, some of the videos I have to do outside, and so some stuff is going to get in the shots. Like I said, I don't do advertising for anyone. No one. There's a non-profit YouTube channel, and if anyone has any doubts about that, this whole campaign has been non-profit from when I started in 2023 up until now. If anyone has any doubts about that, you can see me in person. I'll tell you where I am in Canada, whichever city I might be in, depending on the dates. I'll tell you where I'm going to be. You can meet me. I'll show you my bank account. Okay, you'll see that I got no checks from anyone. Okay, including YouTube, and you can look at my YouTube internal pages as well. You'll see I got no payments from them. I got no payments from anyone for this campaign. Okay, so I'm going to get back to the screenshots now and get back into the what I was saying before. Okay, so I mentioned before why January 29 was significant. The same reason why October 29 is significant. So that's one major item of significance. Actually, it's actually two for this one because January 29 connects with October 29 from 2018, the MAX jet crash, right? So that's the one so-called coincidence. But number two, it also connects with my ex-girlfriend's phone number, 1029. In other words, the 4 digits of her phone number, 1029. That same connection happened with the MAX jet crash that I highlighted in video 1, 2, or 3 in this series. But back then, the only significance was the 4 digits from her phone number, right? The 1029. Then October 29, that first MAX jet crash from 2018, October 29, that connected to her phone number, right? The 1029 in her phone number. I explained that in video part 1 of this series, okay? In part 1 of this series, I explained that, right? So, but now, because 129 has come up again, this time as January 29 instead of October 29. Again, it's the same digits, 129. Because it's come up again, it has 2 points of significance. Number one, it still, of course, connects to her old phone number, the 1029 part in her phone number. But now it also connects to the 2018 MAX jet crash. Okay, do you see what I mean, right? So it's as if bro was saying, here's like a double so-called coincidence, for you, John, to ponder. And I didn't have to ponder it long, believe me, to see the double significance of it. Okay, and then the other. So as for coincidence, so-called coincidence number 3 and 4 on this crash. The Bombardier, well, actually, there's a third coincidence here. I said before in the last video that there might be some significant word that comes up. Now I just remind myself with the Bombardier. Bombardier, if you look at it, the first word of Bombardier is bomb, okay? Well, what happens when two airliners collide midair? It's like a bomb, right? because the fuel tanks explode. It's essentially a bomb. So I think that bro very carefully picked the name Bombardier, picked a plane made by Bombardier to blow up because of the significance of the word bomb being in Bombardier, right? Again, he's got a very sick sense of humor, okay? So, this would not surprise me at all if he chose that name specifically for that reason, because it has the name bomb in it, okay? So that would be so-called coincidence number 3, okay, for this crash. Now, number 4, RJ, okay? Well, you know my first name's John, which obviously starts with a J, but you don't know my last name. Some of you out there do know my last name, okay? But for those of you out there who've only known me through my YouTube videos or my radio talk show appearances, that I've appeared on several talk shows in the last couple of years, talking live about these issues of hacked high tech. Well, for my radio audience and my YouTube audience, you don't know my last name, but there are some people out there who do know my last name, okay? And believe me, for those who don't, it starts with an R, okay? So I'll just leave it at that. If I say any more, YouTube would probably not let that on. Obviously, they don't let my last name on. And the reasons are complex for that. I don't understand them myself. But anyway, maybe in the future, if this series gets big enough, maybe they will allow my last name on then. But up until this point, they haven't. But anyway, it starts with an R, okay? Obviously, my brother has the same last name. So then there's the letter C, okay? You think, well, what's the relevance of C? Well, to me, it's irrelevant because CRJ, it's as if bro was saying, regarding this crash, CRJ 700. Well, 700 is also significant because within the 700 is a 70. And as you know, I was born in 1970, okay? Now, if you want to totally disregard the zeros, then it's a 7, but then you can also disregard the 0 in the year I was born, so then the year 70 becomes a 7, right? So sometimes numerology enthusiasts do pay attention to zeros, other times they don't. But whether you pay attention to the 0 or not pay attention to the 0, there is a 70, the year I was born, okay, and I proved that in some of my earlier videos in this series when I showed my birth certificate, right? At least the year part of my birth certificate. I had to cross out my last name, of course. Like I said, YouTube doesn't allow my last name. But the point is, a lot of you out there know that, that already from my previous videos, some of my previous videos, that I was born in 70, okay? So whether you disregard the zeros or don't disregard the zeros, you must admit that 70, short for 1970, 70 is the same as 700, right? Because within the 700 is a 70, okay? So it's, so it's the same number, right? There's a 70 in the 700. This, like that you see here for this airliner's name, right? There's a 700. This 700 is in the name of the airliner, but also the year 70, the year I was born, is within that 700. So that's a so-called coincidence, okay? But if you want to totally disregard the zeros, then, the zeros don't count for the name of the airliner, but they also don't count then for the year I was born. But so then you're just left with a 7, okay? Well, again, I was born in 70, so that can become just a 7 for short form, right? So either way, it's a 7. There's a 7 here and a 7 in the year I was born. Or it's a 70, again, if you want to count the zeros. Or either way, that you can certainly see how that could represent the year I was born, and that bro might very well have picked that name, that number of for the model number of that airliner, because obviously he knows the year I was born, and he knows that I would notice that so-called coincidence. But the CRJ part, getting back to that, it's as if he was picking the letter C, short form for the word C-S-E-E, right? So it's as if he was saying to people, regarding this crash, CRJ 70, right? Or CRJ 7. In other words, C, my last name first, and then my first name, John, and then the year I was born. So that could be seen as as an identifier for me, right? So it's as if he was saying, see me or see my videos regarding this crash, right? It's as if he was playing that kind of mind game. Either way, there are at least 5 so-called coincidences for this crash that I just went through. Okay, so I'm just going to pause for a second because there's a, oh, there it is, you see it, there's a, you don't see that every day, a tractor trailer pulling a tractor trailer. Wow, that was very noisy, and I had to turn around just to see what it was. Okay, so that's that crash. And again, like I said before, I think he goes through databases, through airline databases, through people's phones, to see, you know, because I think sometimes he picks some of the airplanes based on some of the people who are going to be on them. In other words, their ages, their names, that type of stuff. But other times, I think he just goes through the databases of the airliners to see what model of airplane is going to be flying, what date, what time, that type of stuff, right? I think he does his research very carefully before he chooses significant names like Bombardier and significant numbers like CRJ 700 and significant dates like January 29, 2025. This information is all easily available to a hacker, you know, long before the flight actually goes in the air, right? So believe me, that information is very easy to find for a hacker. Okay, here's another one. This is an accident. You can see what I searched on Google for this one, January 31, 2025. I made a paper note of this one I heard on the radio months ago, and so I just put that date from the paper note I made into the computer today, the Google, and I came up with this. I was suspicious when I heard about it because, you know, January had already been a bad month for crashes. And then this last one happened at the end of January, plus 31 is a reverse 13. And you know, I've talked about 13 before, why he would consider that significant. In fact, one of my videos in this series, I think it's part, I can't remember what part it is, but anyway, one of them actually has a 13. One of them actually has a 13 on the little picture that you see for that video, that you click on it before you start watching the video. So, you know, 13 has come up as a significant number several times in this series already. So here it is again. So again, the crash happened on January 31, 2025. Again, 31 in reverse is a 13. Okay, so that's significant for the numbers, for the reasons I just mentioned, and just like it's already come up several times in this series. So 13 again comes up here. So that's significant point number 1 for this crash. Number two, 6:07 p.m. Okay, it happened at 6. Do you see that? The viewfinder is a little bit fuzzy here. I hope you can see it. Okay, the crash happened at 6:07 p.m. Remember what I said before many times in this series, or at least several times? He was born September 27, 1967, okay? 67 for short. Again, zeros don't count. The crash happened at 6:07. Zeros don't count, okay? Which means it's a 6-7, the exact year that he was born. So we got 2 so-called coincidences right away. The January 31, again, in reverse, that's a 13. I've already mentioned many times before why that's significant in other videos in this series. So that's so-called significant number number 1. Okay, the first point of significance, the first so-called coincidence for this crash is January 31. In reverse is a 13. Okay, so that's number 1. First so-called coincidence for this crash. Number 2, the 6-7 I just mentioned, right? So that's number 2. So far, we're up to 2 so-called coincidences for this crash. And number 3, it's staring us right in the face. Learjet 55. Okay, it was a Learjet 55 that crashed. Guess what, folks? I'm 55 years old now, okay? I wasn't 55 in January 31. I turned 55 in May of this year. But the point is, it's still the same year that I turned 55, okay? It's still the same year. I turned 55 in the same year, okay, that this jet crashed. The jet with a 55 in the name, okay? So there we are. 3 so-called coincidences for this crash that I just went through, okay? And so that's it. That's it for that's it for this video, and like I said, I have a lot to do, there are other crashes though that sooner or later I will cover for this year's other suspicious crashes, and of course plenty of other stuff I have to do. There will be a lot of. Put it this way: every week, I plan to put on at least 2 or 3 new videos every week. Some will be in this series. I suspect my IT Pro Row. Others will be in another series relating to this issue. Others might be individual videos, but it'll all be on this channel. Massive Matters. Thank you very much. Bye.